Hello everyone, welcome to another video on how to make use of formulas and functions in Google Sheets. In one of our previous videos, I've explained how we can use X lookup function to do a two-way lookup. So what do I mean by a two-way lookup? In this particular database, I wanted to understand Pradeep and his height. So Pradeep and height is 115 centimeters. Pradeep and his weight is 34 kg. So this is what we mean by a two-way lookup. So we want to identify the row as well as the column value for two particular reference values. So Pradeep is the row reference, height is a column reference, and Pradeep height is what we call it as a two-way lookup. So we have already seen how to do this using the X lookup function. So just a quick recap. So if you see here, the reference value is Pradeep. So I4 is Pradeep. So I'm going to look up for Pradeep's value in this particular table. And then I'm going to look up for the grade from this particular table. So that is how I have created this X lookup. So people who want to understand about X lookup in detail can refer to our previous video on X lookup. Now, how can we achieve the same result using few other Google Sheet formulas? So that's what we are going to see. We're going to see how can we achieve the same result using match and index as a combination, and how can we achieve the same using vlookup formula. So that's what we're going to see. So what is a vlookup formula? That we have already explained in one of our previous videos. So you can refer to that video and understand how vlookup works. So now we will understand how match function works and how index function works. So first let's understand about match. If I type match, then the first information that I need to give is I need to give the reference key or a search key. So let me select this column as a search key. As of now, there is no value here. Still, let me select this as my search key. And once I select my search key, then I need to select my search range. So I'm going to select for a name. So that's the reason I'm going to select this as my search range. Then I need to enter with, I can put three values here. I can put either a 0, or I can put a 1, or I can put a -1. In a match function, the last information that we need to give is a 0 or 1 or a -1. So I'm going to give 0. So what is 0? Let me explain. First, let me close this and then I'll explain. So it will throw me an error. Why? Because this column is blank. So let me copy Yarni's name and paste it in this particular cell. Right. So the moment I copy and paste Yarni's name here, so I'm getting the value as 4. So why did I got this value as 4? So in this order, Yarni's name is 4th in the order. Hence, it is returning me the value as 4. So when I enter 0, I get the exact order. So if you see the last value that I entered here is the exact value or exact order of this particular name in this range of values. So in this, Yarni's name is appearing 4. So if I replace this with Pradeep, I will get 5. So match is a function that helps you to understand what is the order of this particular item in the given range. So that is what match function helps us to do. Okay, now we will understand how index function works, right? So let me type index, right? Once I type index, then I need to select the reference value. Then I need to select the rows and column, right? So what do we mean by reference value in an index? So let me start from here and select all the values up to here. So what I've done, I have selected from C40 all the way up to H46, right? Okay, so there are 6 columns and there are 7 rows, C40 to H46. Then I can give a row number and I can give a column number. What do I mean by a row number and column number? There are 6 columns and 7 rows. So I'm going to say 5, 4. So my row number is 5, my column number is 4, and I'm going to close this. So when I close this, I get a value as 45. Why did I get a value as 45? Because I have mentioned 4th column, sorry, because I have mentioned 4th row and sorry, 5th row and 4th column. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth row is Pradeep. 1, 2, 3, 4. And fourth column is 45. So that is the reason I got 45. If I replace this with fifth row, fifth column, I get 87. If I replace it with sixth column, I get 76. So this is how the index function works. So this is how match function works, and this is how index function works. Okay. Now we understood how these two work. So using this, how can I do a two-way lookup? So we are going to see like how we did a X lookup. Similarly, using match and index function, how can we do a two-way lookup? So what I need, so these are employee numbers, these are employee name, and this is the number of transactions that people have processed in respective months. How many transactions that people have processed? So I want to know for a given month, what is the number of transactions that a given employee has processed? So just like before, I'm going to create validation so that there is no typo error or anything. So I'm going to say data validation. I'm going to add a rule, and that rule is from name. Sorry. So I'm going to select names. Similarly, I'm going to create another validation. I'm going to select months as my validation criteria. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I need the value, right? So I'm going to start with index. Okay. So my index references, this is my index reference. Now I need to give the row number and column number. Now to give row number, I'm not going to give the row number directly, because if I give it directly as 4, 5, then it becomes static. It cannot become dynamic. I wanted to give the row number in such a way that the user can dynamically change it. So what I'm going to do, instead of giving a number directly, I'm going to use the match function here. So I type match, then I select. So in match, my reference is, so first I have to give it for rows. So my reference is, this is my reference key because I have already created a validation here. So this is my reference. This is my range. And then for an exact match, I have to put 0, right? Now I need to enter column number. So again, I'm going to use match. And my reference value will be this cell. And my range will be January to June. And for exact match, 0. So what I've done is I have created an index formula, but instead of giving the numbers directly, I have created a match formula so that those numbers can be selected in a dynamic way. So now this shows me an error. Why it shows me an error? Let me select some names here. So let me select Anita, and then let me select Anita's June transaction count. Anita's June transaction count is 42. Anita's April transaction count is 80. Satish, April transaction count is 58. Satish, January transaction count is 29. So the same match function is being used, but for the choice of the same index function is used, but for the choice of row number and column number, we have not hard coded the number. Instead, we have used a match function to select that number. So this is how you can do a two-way lookup using match and index function together. Similarly, let's see how to use the vlookup formula to do the same thing, right? We are going to use the vlookup formula to do the same thing. So Let me delete this formula here. Okay. Once I delete this formula, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the vlookup formula. So what I need uh, Satish January transaction count. So what I can do, I can type is equal to vlookup. My reference, my search key will be Satish, and then I put a comma. After I put a comma, now I need to select my range starting from the name all the way up to the last column, right? So I have selected the name. Now I need to enter the index number. People who have already watched my previous video on vlookup, at this stage, we have to give the exact number of column that we need the data from. For example, name will be column number 1. So if I want June, I have to put 2. If I want February, I have to put 3. If I want March, I have to put 4. So now I need to select the index number, but I cannot hard code this index number. I want this index number to be kept as a dynamic number. So based on what I'm going to select, I need to get. So what I'm going to do here, I am going to start a match formula here. So I'm going to use a match formula. So once I select match, now I need to select my search key. My search key will be January. My range will start from employee number all the way up to June. And then for an exact match, I have to type 0 so that this match reference value range comma 0 will decide which number of column from here, second, third, fourth, fifth, which particular number of column that I need to uh, take as a index value, right? So now the index part has been filled with, or index part has been constructed with a match formula. And then for an exact match, I can type false. So what is this false formula? People who have already seen my previous video on vlookup will understand. For you to arrange this order in ascending or descending order as part of vlookup, we need to give either false or true. So we are giving false because we want this to be arranged in ascending order. So let me close the bracket, right? So here is the vlookup formula. So now if you see Satish, for the month of Jan, 29. So Satish for the month of June, 58. Anand for the month of June, 80. Anand for the month of April, 65. So the same two-way VLOOKUP can be performed using XLOOKUP formula, can also be performed using index and match formula, can also be performed using VLOOKUP and index formula, sorry, VLOOKUP and match formula. So we can use the combination of index and match, we can use the combination of VLOOKUP and match, or we can use XLOOKUP formula to get the two-way lookup. Friends, hope this video was useful for you, and you can subscribe to our channel to get more videos about how to use formulas and functions in Google Sheet for our advantage. Thank you.